Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank the Chairman for including the A-10 in his mark and fully funding this critical platform. The underlying legislation includes funds to support 283 A-10s for the next year. My amendment today does not cost a dime. The Chairman has already provided full funding for our entire remaining A-10 fleet in the underlying legislation. My amendment simply ensures that the Chairman's intentions are carried out and that the Air Force does not use any backdoor means to try to retire these aircraft. My amendment also calls for a badly needed independent assessment of the capabilities or required mission platform that will be needed to replace the A-10. Over the last 3 years, the administration has already mothballed the equivalent of 4 A-10 squadrons, leaving us with only 9 combat-capable squadrons to carry out the unique, critical missions the A-10 is only suited for. I flew the A-10 and commanded a squadron of A-10s, flying 325 combat hours in Iraq and Afghanistan myself. I know the unique capabilities it brings to protect our troops on the ground. This includes loiter time, sometimes 3 or 4 times other aircraft, maneuverability, survivability, and weapons load. Weapons load including 1,174 rounds of 30 millimeter, and I brought a prop. This is not live, but I'll put it up here. 1,174 rounds to bring to bear on the enemy to protect our troops on the ground. It's also critical to combat search and rescue. When we have a downed airman, we cannot bear to have them have the same fate as the Jordanian pilot, and only the A-10 shows up to provide that critical Sandy role. This month, the commander of our forces in Korea admitted that mothballing the A-10 would also create a gap in anti-armor capability for his mission. The A-10 is our most survivable close air support aircraft. Just 2 weeks ago, a DoD official testified before this committee that the F-35 would not be able to take a direct hit that an A-10 could survive. The A-10 is also our most affordable aircraft. It has the lowest per flight hour cost, and we've invested over $1 billion in it in the last years to upgrade its avionics capabilities, its survivability, its weapon control system, and rebuilding its wings so it can continue to fly until 2028 as a minimum. And the Army and our ground troops, they want the A-10. General Ordiano has repeatedly said in front of this committee and others that the A-10 is our best close air support aircraft, recently also for Iraq and Afghanistan. The administration is on the record in this committee saying this is a budget issue only. They've testified before us and clarified that if they had the funds, they would keep this platform. The A-10 continues to be called upon by combatant commanders. Since this defense bill was marked up a year ago, A-10s have been deployed to the Middle East for the fight against ISIS and to Europe to train our allies and deter additional Russian aggression. 12 A-10s were just deployed last week, in fact, to replace those in the fight against ISIS. To give you just one example of the A-10's unique capability to bring our troops home alive to their families. In 2008, then Marine Master Sergeant Richard Wells and his Marine Special Operations team were on patrol in Afghanistan when they were ambushed. The Marines were severely outnumbered, cornered, in close combat with dozens of insurgents. The terrain was rugged, the weather was poor, the sun was going down, fast-moving fighters stationed above the clouds were unable to identify the targets or get low enough to engage. 2 Warthogs were diverted to their aid. They descended below a heavy layer of clouds and came within 400 feet of slamming into a mountainside. To quote the A-10 pilot, "I would have rather hit the mountain and at least try to save them versus fly above the weather and listen to them fight and die on the radio." The 2 A-10s made roughly 10 gun passes, each to provide cover for Wells' team so they could retreat to safety. 6 men are alive today because of the unique capabilities that the A-10 brings to the close air support fight. In closing, this debate is about saving American lives, making sure they get home safely to their families. I want to thank the Chairman for providing full funding for the A-10 and encourage my colleagues to support my amendment to ensure his intentions are simply carried out and we protect this irreplaceable asset. And I yield back. Thank you.